Welcome to the Monday Minute, our weekly video highlighting a useful way for your church to use technology. This week, we'll be exploring the Sermon Tone Analysis tool on soundfaith.com, which automatically analyzes your sermon for emotional, linguistic, and social tones. Let's get started by navigating to SoundFaith. If you haven't already explored SoundFaith, it's a sermon hosting archive and media resource. There are thousands of publicly available sermons here that we can use for inspiration for our next preaching topic. Any sermon recordings we've published through Proclaim, or that we've created in Logos Sermon Editor, are located on SoundFaith. We can find all of our draft and published sermons by navigating to My Sermons in the top right corner of our browser. Pro Media subscribers get access to SoundFaith and all of its features, including the Sermon Tone Analysis tool. Let's have a look at one of the sermons from our group to see what kinds of insights we can get from it. If we scroll down the page, we can find a tone analysis of the sermon we're looking at. Let's click to get a complete picture of the tones in this sermon. On this page, we can get a general sense of the emotional, linguistic, and social tones of our sermon. Tones are divided into several categories and ranked on a scale of 0 to 1. The closer we get to 1, the more likely each tone is to be present in the sermon. We can see the definition of each tone above the text of our sermon by selecting it on the left side of the sermon analysis section. The overall emotional tone of this sermon is sadness. Let's scroll down the page to see all the lines that ranked with sadness, with the darker colored lines being sadder. Looking through the text of our sermon, certain lines are highlighted dark or light blue to indicate their corresponding tone of sadness. This line appears to be one of the saddest in the sermon, while many of the other lines remain more neutral. We can analyze each individual tone to get a better sense of the overall tone of the sermon. Let's have a look at the social tones in our sermon. Openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and emotional range are above average for this sermon. The most prominent tone in the sermon is agreeableness, so let's quickly examine it. As we can see, the density of the green sentences, including agreeableness, is relatively high compared to the sadness tone we were just examining. Sermon tone analysis can be a useful tool to analyze a single sermon, but we can take it a step further and analyze the breadth of our sermons. This way, we can look at the tone of all of our sermons to get a sense of our broad writing trends as we create sermons. Now let's take a look at another one of our sermons, Love Drives Everything. The strongest emotional tone for our last sermon was sadness. Our present sermon, titled Love Drives Everything, features joyfulness as its predominant tone. Evidently, the tone analyzer has done a good job of detecting this change in emotion. This sermon also rates highly on openness and analysis. Based on the information provided by sermon tone analysis, we can see our writing trends have an open, analytical tone. What are your sermon writing trends? Let us know by leaving a comment on the Proclaim Faith Life group, and if you haven't already, go to soundfaith.com to get started for free.